Hey, good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to call the City of Quinte West Property Standards Committee meeting open. It is about 5 minutes after 5 right now. We're going to start tonight's session. We're going to have a bit of an orientation session. So the supervisor of bylaw enforcement is going to give us all a bit of an orientation. So I'll pass that over to Carrie West. Thanks.
Thank you. So tonight, as we have a couple of new members, we're just going to go over a quick orientation. You can put it up there so that you're ready, Schwab. No? So first, we'll kind of go over some terms of reference before we get into the main part of the presentation. So the mandate of the Property Standards Committee, it's a quasi-judicial body that hears appeals from property owners or their agents who have received an order under the bylaw enforcement property standards bylaw. The Property Standards Committee will work within the scope of the responsibilities as set out in the terms of reference under the city's Property Standards Bylaw, the Building Code, and the Statutory Powers and Procedures Act. So the responsibilities of the committee will be to confirm the property standards order, modify, so you have some choices. You can confirm the property standards order that you're going to see in front of you today. You could modify that order, you could rescind that order entirely, or you could extend that timeline for complying with the order, provided that, in your opinion, the general intent and purpose of the property standards bylaw is maintained. And as well, so part of the responsibilities of the committee is we provide written rationale for the decisions that are made. So the secretary will provide a written decision to the appellant. All members shall review the applications sent to you in advance of the meeting, attend the property standards hearings, consider the applications, and make decisions in public regarding these applications. So you're going to contribute some time, knowledge, and skill and expertise to the fulfillment of this mandate. The meetings are scheduled 4 times a year on the second Tuesday in the months of February, May, August, and November. Obviously, you can see we're meeting in June, so we're outside of that timeline. Additional meetings may be scheduled at the call of the chair, or scheduled meetings may be canceled if there's no business. So if we have no appeals to hear, we will cancel that meeting and not bring you guys here. If we receive an appeal that's outside of the timelines, but we feel it's important to bring it to the committee ahead of time, we're not going to wait till that next date. So you might get called in and out, and we might, we'll look at availability of our members. So the meeting agenda and minutes will be always available to the public on the municipal website. Meetings may be held electronically if that's needed. They're always going to be held in accordance with the city's procedural bylaw. All members may participate electronically in open or closed meetings, and any such member may be counted towards quorum of members present at any point and shall be able to vote. So if there was a need for you to come in electronically, we can provide that as well. So on to the committee structure. The Property Standards Committee is composed of 4 citizen representatives. So there's 4 voting members consisting completely of public appointees. As you will see tonight, voting members will elect the chair and vice chair of the committee at the first meeting of each term. We will be doing that even though this isn't the first meeting of the term, as we have 2 new members. So there will be some non-voting members here, as you see us today, city staff. And we consist of the Director of Planning and Development Services, Brian Jardine. He's not here tonight, but he would normally be at these meetings. The Chief Building Official, Philip beside me, myself, Supervisor of Bylaw Enforcement, our Administrative Assistant, Carrie Lynn, and any additional staff that may support the various departments as required, or the officer in question, Mariah, being the officer who issued the order tonight. So reporting, the committee is going to report to council each December, and that just includes our updates on activities, accomplishments, forecasted key milestones, and comments deemed appropriate. The chair or the vice chair shall report on behalf of the committee by means of a delegation scheduled by the committee clerk. The committee may bring forward to council a resolution, report, or recommendation, or request a delegation before council in order to advance the mandate of the committee. So if there's something you felt needed to be changed, that's always something that we can discuss. Council from time to time may request that a committee delegate before council or provide council a written correspondence or report to update council on a committee project, initiative, or to provide expertise on a matter before council. It speaks to expenditures, but we have no expenditures within this committee, but we can discuss that if needed. Now we get to some good stuff. So our authority. So you work within the scope and responsibilities as set out in the terms of reference, like we discussed. If any committee member was found to acted in a manner contrary to the roles and responsibilities set out in those terms of reference, the individual may be relieved of their duties as a committee member by council in accordance with the city's public appointments policy. Our agendas and minutes are prepared by our committee clerk in conjunction with the chair, and these will be distributed as per established procedures. The minutes will be recorded by the clerk and will be placed on the agenda for the next minutes for approval. Actions for committee members or motions, resolutions, or recommendeds approved by the committee for the purposes of forwarding to council shall be placed on the agenda. So just basically all those minutes are always going to be approved at council. You are appointed by council for a term of 4 years, and individuals may be appointed to committee board based on the career outline. So all of you met the criteria, and that's why you're sitting on the board today. So you must comply with the City of Quinte West Council Code of Conduct, the procedural bylaw, public appointment policy, violence and harassment policy, the Municipal Act, the Municipal Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act, and the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act. Yeah, so basically, we always are ensure that you're abiding by the rules outlined in the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act, and any disclosure of pecuniary interest or nature thereof is really important to announce to the committee. If any of these properties you might have an interest in, or some sort of a family member or anything like that, you must declare. Yeah, so I think that kind of covers, that's a lot of information, and it's a little dry, so we kind of rushed through that. But so now we have a little presentation. I don't know that they can see it. They can, oh, it's on the screen, thank you. Oh, look at me, going way too far. Okay. So this is just an outline of our building and bylaw enforcement division. So obviously I spoke to that planning and development services director, Brian Jardine, who oversees our entire department, being building, bylaw, and planning. Underneath Brian, we have our chief building official and the manager of building services, Philip Lappin, who opened our meeting. And then under Philip, we have our building and bylaw team comprised of our deputy chief building official, his 5 inspectors, 2 plans examiners, and 2 administrative assistants. Under the supervisor of bylaw enforcement, we have 4 officers, 1 parking officer, and 1 administrative assistant. So bylaw enforcement, generally speaking, we do a lot of mediation between parties where appropriate. We're always trying to work with property owners to remedy violations and bring properties into a condition of compliance, as outlined by our bylaws. We enforce regulations set out by the municipality, and they apply to residents and all residents and properties within the city. And we are a complaint-driven department, which means we are not proactive. We receive complaints that are enforced. The property standards bylaw, which is what we're here tonight to deal with specifically. So this deals with residential and commercial properties and the standard of maintenance to which all must be kept. So this property standards bylaw sets out the minimum maintenance standards for dwellings. Some prime examples that we have here: plumbing, heating, walls, floors, ceiling, etc. So that bylaw sets out the process to bring properties into compliance. So any order that's issued has timelines, it outlines appeal processes, and everything that we're dealing with here tonight. Oops. Like we talked about a little bit, the mandate. So you're here to hear appeals that are received from the city based on the orders that we issue. So this can't be a staff member, this has to be somebody else. The chair will call the meeting to order and introduce the members, acknowledge the staff that are here, and explain the appeal process once we've elected that chair. Like we discussed, the committee has 4 options. You can confirm the order that's put in front of you tonight, confirm what's there. You could modify the terms of that order. So if there's maintenance items that you didn't think should be on there, you can modify that. You could completely squash the order and say, nope, it's done tonight. It goes no more. Or you can obviously extend the timeline for compliance. So like we discussed, you can remove things, but you cannot add things. So you don't have the ability to put something on there that's not already listed that the officer observed on site. The minutes are recorded by the secretary and approved at council. Pardon me? Oh, sorry.
So is that mutually agreed upon? Is that a majority vote on those four options?
Yes.
And we discuss it amongst ourselves and then?
So generally speaking, and not generally, always, you're going to have a recommendation from staff. And so you could decide to vote on that recommendation, or you could decide to make your own recommendation out of those things that we talked about, confirming it, extending it, modifying it. So you have the ability to vote on what the staff member has, or you can make your own motion to do one of those options.
But do we go down the line with each committee member?
Well,
Or do we collectively have one voice and then?
it would be, somebody would have to move that recommendation and put it on the table, and it would then get voted on. And then you could discuss it. Once the recommendation is on, once somebody's placed it on, you can then discuss it, and you could do a vote on that. If the vote doesn't pass, then you could look at something else, putting another motion in place. Oh, okay, and so there is no set timeline for an appeal to be heard. So like we talked about, if an appeal comes in and we feel that it's minor in nature, it could wait till the next meeting, or we could schedule one if we thought that the matter needs to be heard quickly. Oh, this thing likes to jump. So alternatively, an appeal must be submitted within 14 days of order of service. So the person who's received that the order's been issued, has 14 days from the date of service. The order always outlines that date for service, or the date for appeal, and they have to work within that, and it's 14 days. The appeal must be submitted to the secretary of the committee via registered mail and include a check and a fee of $100 to have the appeal heard. Staff gather all the documents related to the order, as you've seen tonight in your package, and it's such as inspection notes, photos, staff reports, copies of orders, title searches, basically anything that would be relevant to you making that decision. So we as a municipality will present our information first, and then the appellant will present their information. Committee members are always able to ask questions of staff and the appellant's information. We want that. We always want that discussion. A written decision letter will be sent to the appellant via regular mail. And as always, if the appellant is unhappy with the committee's decision, they can appeal to the Superior Court. So there is always an option after this one. So now we'll just talk about some of the work, like some of the legislation and bylaws. So the Municipal Act. Oh, we got another one. Sorry, forgive me.
Talking about the 14 days, is it 14 days from the time that you send the mail, or 14 days is when they receive it? Like, how would you know when?
So we account for 5 business days for service. We give 5, we just take that right off the top, and then we count from 14 days from there. And then we count, and then there's 21 days for the actual compliance date, 14 days to appeals, but we always give extra time for mailing. So we just knock those 5 days off the top and then count 14, and business days. So we give more time than we need to. Legislatively, it's just days, but we always provide business days just to try to give people more time. So the Municipal Act allows for our rights of entry and municipal powers that give us the right to enforce the bylaws as passed by council. The Building Code Act gives us the rights of entry into property. That's the big one. We need to be invited inside of somebody's dwelling, so the Building Code allows for those rights of entry, the penalties, the rights and guidelines to the appeal, like we're hearing tonight, and the authority to pass the property standards bylaw. So we work in conjunction with the property standards bylaw and the Building Code in order to bring these forward. And then the property standards bylaw sets out those regulations for the maintenance within the municipality. That's it. Any further questions?
No, okay. Thanks, Kerry. No other questions from the community members? No? Okay, so we will officially call the meeting to order then. Thank you, Kerry, for the presentation. So our next item on the agenda is the appointment of a chair and vice chair. So I'll ask, do we have any nominations for chair? Yes. Okay, thank you. Any other nominations? No? Okay, so I guess we will call a vote for the chair. Is everybody in favor of, pardon me? Yeah, everybody, yes? Yeah, we're all in favor of that, yeah? Yeah. Oh, sorry, yes, sorry, I apologize. I had that discussion ahead of time. Yes, Trevor, you accept? Thank you. Okay. And all in favor of Trevor's nomination? Okay. And nominations for vice chair? Do we, yes. Okay, thank you. And Betty, you accept that nomination? Okay, is everybody in favor of that? Yes, okay. Thank you very much. Congratulations. We have a new chair and a vice chair. I will pass the meeting over to the chair now to continue.
Make sure you
Thank you.
turn
Oh,
on your mics when you speak, please, guys.
Yes.
Sorry, where would I find that?
The agenda, do you have the agenda?
I do, yeah.
If you use your script, the first orange highlighted spot is where you're going to start.
Perfect, okay. Thank you, Carrie. I think it's right here.
First page.
Okay, new chair. We will now address disclosures of pecuniary interest. Do any committee members have a direct or indirect pecuniary interest in any matters on tonight's agenda? That is a no for all committee members. Approval of agenda, June 10, 2025. New chair. Moving on to item number 7. Approval of the agenda for June 10, 2025. Does anyone have any proposed changes or additions to the agenda as circulated? No changes. I have a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Betty Jean Cruz, I so move.
The motion has been,
Yeah, ask for a vote.
the motion needs to be seconded. Is that correct? Yeah, I need a second for the motion.
I'll second the motion.
Okay. Agenda has been approved. All in favor? Carried. Approval of minutes, new chair, I'm sorry. Next is the approval of the minutes for item 8A. There are no minutes to approve for the previous Property Standards Committee meeting. However, it is noted that the minutes of the regular Property Standards Committee meeting held on May 14th, 2024 were presented and approved at regular council meeting held on June 5th, 2024. Section 9, public input. We are now at item 9, public input. We will open the floor for any members of the public who wish to address the committee. Please state your name and address for the record, and you will have the allotted time to speak. All right. Moving on to item 10, delegations, presentations. Do we have any scheduled delegations this evening? There are none. We're now on section 11, staff reports and other decision items. Staff report number 25-052 PD from Kerry West, Supervisor of Bylaw Enforcement, Planning and Development Services, regarding appeal of property standards, Order 25026, for 95 Byron Street, Quinte West, Ontario. And the owner is Mr. Fatah. We have a staff report number 25052 PD from Kerry West, Supervisor of Bylaw Enforcement, Planning and Development Services regarding an appeal of Property Standards Order 25026 concerning the property at 95 Byron Street, Quinte West, owned by Mr. Fatah. Do we have a presentation for that? I'll turn this over.
Thank you, Chair. Just as some background, so the violations order number 25026, in order to remedy nonconformance with standards of maintenance and occupancy, was issued by our officer on April 10th, 2025, with a compliance date of Friday, May 16th. A copy of the order to remedy is attached as Appendix 1. On Monday, May 5th, the city received a notice of appeal, and it's attached as Appendix 2. 3 deficiencies were noted in the officer's order. 3 deficiencies were noted in the upstairs of the dwelling located at 95 Byron Street. These will be outlined in Schedule A of the order as Appendix 1. The noted deficiencies apply to the upstairs of the dwelling, and the downstairs is locked from any sorts of entry by officers. At the time of the initial inspection, the officers were advised that the landlord had served the tenants with an N12, a notice to end the tenancy, because a purchaser or a family member requires a rental unit. The tenants advised that they had a valid lease agreement and did not want to vacate the rental unit. Shortly thereafter, the N12 was delivered. The water and electricity were shut off to the rental unit. The tenants confirmed that the day the water and hydro was shut off was April 2nd. An email was received by the property owner to the city on April 11th stating that the services were disconnected due to a fire. Our officer did reach out and obtain the following information on April 15th. A representative from Hydro stated their records indicated the power was still active at 95. A customer service representative for the city stated the water account for 95 Byron Street was still active, and confirmation from a fire prevention officer from the city of Quinte West that the fire department had no record of a fire occurring at 95 Byron Street. In an email dated May 23rd, the tenants had advised that they had been months without any water and hydro, and although they have tried to wait for their services to be returned, it's causing financial hardship. They do intend to move, but were unable to provide any kind of a date in which they would vacate the unit, as they've not yet found suitable accommodation. The city is recommending that the order is confirmed with a new compliance date of June 20th. Prior to ending this portion, I will say we did have a question from our committee member about services, so I just wanted to update. As of June 10th, our water department has confirmed that there is no water consumption for the months of May and June. The reading for the month of April showed a water consumption of only 5 cubic meters of water, which we've been advised is a quarter of a normal household consumption. The water department indicated that the reading of 5 cubic meters would support and reflect that the water had been shut off in early April. Hydro 1, in addition, same date, June 10th, Hydro 1 has confirmed that there's been no usage or bills since April 2nd on this property.
A question, would we know what the difference would be between the water being shut off and the water not being used? It would reflect the same amount of usage?
I do believe that there was a small amount of usage before that water was shut off, and that's why they're saying that 5 cubic meters would indicate that the water was not in use. Whether that's shut off, obviously it's not been shut off from the city's end, so they're just saying there's no consumption. So it would indicate It's been shut off at that end.
Chair recognizes Betty Jean with a question.
Have staff encouraged the landlord to turn those services back on while he's doing the work?
The order is specific to having those services resumed. So the only thing that the city noted when we were in there was the lack of water, the lack of hydro, and a lack of heat. So any of the other repair items, it's only specific to those issues, and we cannot determine why the water and the hydro are not on. Based on, we don't have a record of the fire. We don't have any record of these things happening, so we can't indicate why those are shut off, but rather that the presence of them is not there.
Thank you. Just to clarify, have you had recent conversations with the landlord since the order was put through?
Yes, so officers as well as myself, we have been in contact with the landlord about that. And I think you'll hear more about the reasons why he's not in his presentation, perhaps why he hasn't made those repairs. We've just pushed to have those repairs done, so I can't speak to the reasons why he's not doing it, forgive me. We can confirm, speaking with tenants, that no, the work has not been done. To date, the work has not been completed. They're still without those services. Obviously, heat is not an issue today, but they're still without the water and the hydro.
Thank you.
The chair recognizes Gregory.
So at what point are we going to get the owner's side of the story here? Because I do have some questions around it, but I think I would like to hear it first.
As soon as you're done with questions of me, then it would be the appellant's turn to speak and any questions. And again, you could still ask staff questions after you hear his.
Okay, well, I do have one question for you. Why are you recommending the amended date? Why are we not holding them to the original date?
The nature of the appeal, once an appeal is made, we're already very close to the compliance date. And so that's why you're going to see we have a very short date change, because in theory, we've already passed the compliance date as issued in the order. So we have to, it would be we need some sort of a guideline to give him to do those repairs. And that's why you're going to see it's only like I think a week turnaround from the date of this meeting, because we want to see those services resumed. So that's why we've put, normally we might give more time, but that's why we've put such a short timeline on having that work done. We want to see those services resumed immediately.
So nothing has been presented to staff to encourage them to believe that this is getting done and all it needs is a little extra time?
No, sorry, through you, Chair, I forgot to do that. Anytime we've received any discussion or had any discussions with property owner, it seems to be that there's a desire to have the tenant out of the property before that work is done. That seems to be the messaging that's coming through us, but again, you will be able to ask the appellant in more detail.
As I understand, there were two instances of noncompliance. Was there there was no appeal for the first noncompliance? Or did one just roll into the other? Like,
Forgive me, through your chair, are you referring to the stuff at the end about the building permits? Is that the?
Possibly, yeah. I think there was a non-compliance, and then I think a period of time for corrective action, and I think there was a revisit by city members and found additional non-compliance. So, and which is where we are at today. But was there any, follow-up action between the first and second non-compliance?
If I can, through you, Chair, there's a couple different things going on here. We have the order for the property standards for the services being turned off for the tenant. There was also two incidences where we have observed or caught building without a required building permit being done. So that is separate from this property standards action. We did have the dates in front of me. We caught some work being done without a permit. The entire building was gutted. So subsequent to that, we did issue an order under the building code. He did come in, obtain a building permit, and has done the majority of that work. That building permit is still open. There are some small items that need to be done on the inside to finish it off. After that, at some point when our bylaw enforcement went in due to the issue of the services being cut off, we were aware that additional work was going on again without a building permit in the lower level of the house. So we have issued orders on that as well. But that really is a separate issue. It is tied in the sense that it is all the same building, and the building inspector has been in there as well. But it is separate to this property standards appeal process.
Perfect. Thank you for that. I was just putting them all together as one. Thank you. Any further questions from committee members? All right, thank you, Carrie. Committee members, you've heard the staff report and the recommendation. We will now hear from the property owner.
Okay. Right there. Hello? Okay. How are you? Good. My name is Rajar Fatah. I'm owning the property of 985 Byron Street. I'm here to answer you questions if you have any question about this matter.
Do you have a presentation for us or any information that can,
I do have some documents and some pictures. This tenant lives there since last July 2024. He lives there normally. He pays rent, not paying rent. This is a different topic. About N12, I just read it about it. He received it actually on last year when we were about to sell the house due to financial crisis. But then we not sell the house, and then we let them know that the house is not going to be sold. You can continue living on until your end of term if you want to renew it or not. N12 is, sorry. It's not an N12, it's a L2. But anyway, N12 is, that's it, there was be no use. We didn't force him to move out. This tenant start living there until now. And also he stopped paying rent since December of 2024. Last time, he did not pay for the rent of December.
so when was that, December of '24?
24. So far,
He paid up until, to that point?
so he paid from July all the way to December.
He did pay,
He did pay.
stopped paying in December of '24.
That's correct. I texted him at that date of the incident. I texted him because I live in Oakville. I don't live in the city. I texted him and said, it's a freezing rain. Please, if you can take a look around the house, if everything is okay. He refused to answer. Then I had to come down here. All I find out, it's a breaker. I have a picture here if you want to see it. That caught on fire somehow. I'm not sure if the guy connecting some wires to the another or a natural happened in the house. We did told them this is the water damage. If you change to the panel, this is the garbage. One more.
Sorry, can you go back to that previous photo? So what are we looking, what's this? Is this the
This is a
hydrometer?
hydro tag that hydro has been disconnected by the hydro company due to the same fire. I'm trying to show you the panel of the, so that way everything makes sense for everybody.
Sorry, if I can interrupt there.
Sure.
So we've got confirmation from the city that the fire department was not aware of any
Because there was
incident.
not active fire, that like you see your houses, it's a burning, then you call the fire department, come, I have a fire, right? I literally want to show you this picture, sorry if you don't mind.
Sure, yeah.
So that way we understand. What are we not looking at it? No. Maybe. Go one more? That's it? Oh, okay. I can show you the panel, electric panel that caught on fire.
So I'm wondering if there was an incident with a fire-related issue to the point where hydro would disconnect service, and there's a disconnect with the service that's provided to the residents for the way for power. Like, I don't know how that would be a thing, but sorry, continue.
I didn't get your question, sorry.
When did you issue the notice for the, was it the
I can show you
end?
the panel, I have it. Do you want to take a look at it?
Yeah, just 1 second. What's the the order to vacate? Is it N12, you said?
N12 is like when you sell when you have a tenant
Yeah.
there, and then when you want to sell the house, you give them an N12.
Yeah. When was it issued, though?
Oh my God. That's happened in November, I believe. Sorry, do you want the exact date or do you want approximate?
It just, if he paid up till
November.
December 2024, I'm wondering when you issued the N12.
No, so basically, we have to give them the notice. It's called N12. Then you have to file it with the court. Then court will review all your documents and stuff like that, and they will approve it. And then they will either give you approval or disapproval. And it's depend on the court what the decision.
Right.
But the notice they give it, I believe I give them N12 in November. So there was no money issue. If I think that tenancy is claiming like because he did not pay, we want to get him out.
I'm just wondering, yeah, if he issued the
Yeah.
N12 in November and he stopped paying in December, right?
That's maybe driving him.
Yeah.
Like he's not paying, but we give him N12, not attention to kick him out of the house. It's like literally situation going on, right? And then that's why we told him to move out or to vacate in November. And the situation has happened, this fire is on April.
Okay. So I know that city building has talked about work being done to the property, but has the work been done to address the recent issue with the fire and water damage?
It's a work is when we let them know that we want to enter the house because the city required a drawing. And the engineering wants to get into the house, measure everything, eventually put everything in the drawing, but he refused to let us in to the upper unit. The
Sorry,
basement-
say that again?
He refused to let us in.
The
to-
tenant?
The tenant.
Okay.
This picture right here, it's a basement. So basically, he lives upstairs, I lives downstairs, but it's not finished. Nobody lives there, but I still have the authority to go in without any notice and stuff like that for the basement. But for upstairs, until today, we give him the notice. He won't let anybody in to go to see what's actually going on, where the water comes from, why the electric panel is burning. No chance, no luck. You cannot get in.
Yeah, Chair recognizes Gregory.
Okay, you say that there was an electrical fire of some sort.
Yes,
The hydro came and turned off the power.
that's correct.
The power company turned off the power, disconnected it. That seems contrary to what staff, what information they've been given by the power company. They say they did not do that. Can you explain that?
I'm so surprised why they answered this one because there is a tag that's still there. It's still the house. They came and they turned off. They looked at the panel. They turned off everything. And obviously, we know, other than the hydro company, nobody can turn off the power from the main source. We can turn off in the panel, but we cannot turn off in the main source.
Have you, sir, talked to the power company?
I did.
'Cause-
Yeah, I told them there's a fire going on in my house, and then they came. They looked at the panel. It's like, okay, we're gonna turn off the power from the meter until you fix all the electrical. Then we come back. We turn on back to the power. But the tenants will refuse us to do any work, so we are just right here.
If I can ask a follow-up question to Gregory's, to my understanding, the utilities for the property, water and power, are both located in the basement
That's
of the
correct.
dwelling.
That's correct.
And so if the tenant's not allowing access to the upstairs,
Yes.
would that be irrelevant to what needs to be
If-
done with,
Yeah, obviously I have a panel in the basement, but all the wiring is upstairs. So for electrician to come take a look at it, say, okay, this plug in the kitchen, it has a problem. We require to go inside upstairs. But he blocks us like lately, like last time he asked you for 8 months forgiveness, and then he will let us in and potentially move out the house. This was the last conversation, that's what he.
Can I continue?
yeah, Chair recognizes Gregory.
So you said that you discovered there was a fire, you talked to the power company, electrical company, and they came and turned it off on,
They came,
at
they-
your request.
Of course, yes,
How did you know there was a fire?
because I see it.
Where was the
I
fire?
see it, and then they came, they sort of look around the panel, they saw the burnout.
So where was the
That-
fire? In the panel?
Inside the panel, I'll show you,
Inside the panel.
yes. And then, he did burn out a couple stoves before. I'm not sure what's going on. I'll show you a picture of it. Sorry. This is the panel, and this is what the burnout. I have another picture of the wire that burnt out. See the plug top? The panel is still there, we didn't change it yet. If anybody wants to.
Show the other two, please.
Can I show both myself and Betty?
That's the burnout, and there was a breaker here. I think I have another picture inside the wiring.
So hard, just hold it there for a
Yes,
second.
sir.
And you're saying it's here?
Yeah, it's right here. So basically, we installed
Okay.
the fuse panel, and that's the burnout, that the smoke that burned right there.
Okay, and where is this panel located?
It's in the basement.
So what is stopping you from replacing the panel?
Him to not let the electrician to inspect
Upstairs? Why does the upstairs need to be inspected to replace the panel?
because the wiring is for upstairs. All the wiring is connected.
But the
to
problem's at the panel.
upstairs. The wiring gave the panel. The wiring got the. So
Yeah.
If he overloading something upstairs, connect something to something, we don't know.
The obligation, as what I understand it,
Yeah.
is on you to replace the panel. I don't see that it has a lot to do with upstairs. You're guessing that it has something to do with upstairs, but you don't know because you haven't been up there.
No, I'm not guessing.
Then
My-
how do you know?
I got the 3 electricians that they can look at it. It's like, if you don't fix upstairs or what's going on, why there is this electrocuted happen, you change the panel until tomorrow.
Okay, so I just wanted to continue with my questions there while I have the chance from the chair. How does this explain the water? For one thing, I'm not sure I believe everything you're saying because the staff have talked to the power company and they give a different story, but why does this affect the water? Why is the water off?
So that night, I turned off the water because of the freezing night, freezing rain that was happening. Also, next day when we went back, we could see, I think we have it right here. We can see the amount of water that comes out from upstairs to the basement, like the water leaking in the bathroom.
Do you remember the date of when you shut the water off? Roughly.
I'll give you exact date. It's Wednesday, April 2nd, at 8:41.
So you're saying there's water coming down, so therefore you shut it off?
Yes. The first time, because of the freezing rain, because we did not have access to upstairs.
I'm not
This
sure,
is
what's the
upstairs.
freezing rain have to do with this?
Because of the pipe?
It burst a pipe, is that what you're saying? Or what did the freezing rain do?
Yes, it burst the pipe. If there is no heat and no electricity, no source of heat at the house,
What is the source of heat in the house? What type of heat is it?
it's sourced by the gas and the water.
So it's a gas heating system? The gas furnace?
It's a very old one. Gas will supply the heat, to warm up the water tank, and water tank gives to the furnace, and furnace has a fan and blows the hot air. This is how this is what kind of system that I have.
And you understand you're obligated, not just from this municipal thing, but under provincial law, to provide heat
100%.
and power and water.
100% understand. And also, I understand nobody can live without electricity and water. That's why we provide them secondary places for him to stay until we fix electrical and the plumbing to find out what's the water leak and it's causing upstairs, that amount of water at the picture as you see that comes down.
So just the last few questions here is around, what steps have you taken with the tribunal regarding landlord-tenant stuff to enforce an order to go in for an emergency repair?
So there is a two-step. One step is for him that we enforce for him to not paying rent for 9 months almost.
Yeah, I'm not talking about the rent.
Yeah, so
I'm talking about,
the enforcement of, with the LTB, with the landlord tenant. So we have two enforcement. One is for rent, the other one is for us to go in to do the work. We can go in with the 24-hour notice, but you're not allowed to do any work. This is what the LTB's advise. So for us, we can go there tomorrow if I give him a 24-hour notice. But to do what?
have you tried to do that?
We did. He let us in for like half hour, then he said, the time is up, like you gotta go. It's not like he won't let us to do any work. Like I wish he was here, you know what I mean?
Is the tenant still in the dwelling
He's not.
currently?
No, he's moved out. And the house is just vacated, sitting like this, windows open, nobody lives there for almost 2 weeks. That's what I
So-
received from my neighbors.
I'm still struggling with this because I know for a fact you can acquire an order to go in, an emergency order to go in, and the tenant can't force you to leave if you're fixing up an emergency problem. And you can have the authority either from the board or the proper noticing, and you can even get police to stand by and keep the peace if it's required. So
Yeah.
why hasn't this been done?
Practically, police does not have time to come sit down there until the contract is finished at the time. That's
I did
number one.
policing in this town 36 years. I just retired not too long ago.
Yes.
I don't believe that.
promise
That's not true.
No, police will come to keep the peace, but he's not gonna sit there until the contractor finishes work. That's number one.
Have you tried? Have you asked them? Have they come? Have you tried?
A lot. 3 times.
So the police said no?
Police said no.
In this
It's a L-
community, the police said no.
And here, OPP. I can,
I don't believe that. I'm sorry.
Do you
You're
have,
only asking
you
them to
don't-
keep the peace?
you do,
I don't believe that.
You-
Maybe in Toronto that happens, but I don't
no,
believe
no,
that
here,
here.
OPP, when I called them, I said, we trying to get in, but like, I'm not sure the guy's not paying rent for 8 months. Hopefully, something is, he
No,
doesn't
no,
do to
they
other courts.
they won't deal with any of that. But if you have an order saying you can go in to do repairs, it's an emergency, and you're worried about violence or
This-
being thrown out, they will keep the peace.
That's called N11. We have to file it with the LTB, which is we did, to let us to go in to do actually work. I'm talking about the visitation of 24-hour notice. It
Yeah.
just require you to go in and to inspect, not to do any renovation or construction work inside the house.
But you said you were unable to inspect. They kicked you out. You were only there for a short time.
No, we there, we inspected, we know what is the problem, but he does not let us to do the work. That's,
So now you're telling me you know what the problem is. What is the problem?
it's leaking on the toilet flange, and then also the water supply for the vanity behind the wall, it has a hole in it. The water seems like to be come down in this spot. We didn't inspect like to see actual the waters comes down, but you could see the pattern of water that covered all the drywall. You know what I mean? But in terms of policing, I promise you, police won't come to
Don't
to
tell
be
me
with the
that.
contractors like this until they finish their work.
Yeah, I know different, but the question I have now is, you said it's been empty for 2 weeks.
That's correct.
Have you issued a 24-hour notice saying you need to go in and do anything
So
during that time?
I was in Vancouver when I heard from my neighbor that this house has been vacated and grass is overgrowing. I told them to go knock and at least cut the grass because we don't want to bother the city again. He did cut the grass, he knocked the door, nobody's there. Today I went to there, all the windows open, but the house is empty, nobody's there. So, and we tried to contact them, we tried to see what's going on, what do you want, basically. No response.
Okay, that's all my questions. Thank you.
the chair recognizes Betty Cruz.
How do you propose to get these repairs done by June 20th, in 10 days, if you, it sounds like you're up against a rock and a hard place? if you can't get in to fix it, how are you going to do these repairs by the June 20th?
Until he get evicted, or we actually gonna get the order from N11, which is, we call it. Either the court has to let us in, or the guy has to move out in order for us to do the work.
And you have made those applications?
Yes, N11, yes. It's in it's getting heard in July 25 in Belleville Court.
What was July 25th? What?
Yeah, can you elaborate on that?
July 25th, that's where we applied for the court. This is a court date to just sit down and to hear me and him to see if he gonna let us in to do the work or not with the LTB.
This extension is only until June 20th.
Are city staff aware of this July date? Yes, okay.
Through your chair, yes, the property owner has advised us there is a tribunal date. That would be a time for a hearing. It wouldn't necessarily indicate that they're vacating the unit, obviously, that day. There would be most likely an order with a new date to vacate, and if they didn't vacate, there would be a sheriff that would have to come in. So that date doesn't necessarily bring an end to it, unfortunately. And so there's that to think of, right? Like, that date isn't going to be the date that's going to be able to mean that he might not, he would have to be successful at tribunal, of course, right? Yeah.
Interesting, because the order to vacate, but the tenant's no longer there, but you still need that order to gain access to do the repairs. Am I understanding that correctly?
That's correct. Basically, he owns the house.
Sorry?
Basically, he owns the house. He control everything there. Even though he's not living there, but he has the key. That's it. I really don't know what's going on inside the house. If you see it like this, look like a bandit. You know what I mean?
Did you have any further questions?
There seems to. There's a gap here then. City is aware that you can't even start to do anything until July 25th.
I think I explained for
Could-
Kerry, but I didn't serve him any documents. I didn't give him any documents, but I explained to her verbally that we are waiting for the court date either to vacate, either to basically let them go or allow us to do the repairs.
So, can you clarify that then, please, Carrie?
When officers have spoken with tenants, the tenants have advised that they're not blocking that entry in to do the repairs. At the end of the day, the tenants, I think, very much wanted to have heat and hydro and water. I don't think that they were denying that access in. That's what we've been advised. So there isn't a disconnect, much like Greg has indicated. Through proper notice and through proper notification to the tenants, the property owner can go in and do repairs that are necessary. And at any point from the time of issuance of the letter up until now, any of that could have been done. And we're not seeing, forgive me, we're not seeing any of that being done. We're not seeing any notice, no works. They're not giving that proper notice, that 24-hour notice to go in with officers to keep the peace. We've not seen that happening. We've seen no movements on repairs. So it's just mostly presented to us that we need to get the tenant out to do the repairs. But of course, tenants had a lease agreement and were legally able to stay there and should have had hydro, heat, and water in order to stay there. So obviously, them living there without those services have become very difficult for them. So they're still in care and control of the unit, but they just can't stay there. They've hit that wall that they can't dig in anymore and stay there. So that's why they vacated. But they're still in care and control of that unit. And at any point, property owner could give that proper notice and go in and start doing some of those repairs that need to be done. And much like has been indicated earlier, it sounds like a lot of the repairs are originating from basement, which there's no access issues to.
I wanted to speak to that as well. Thank you, Carrie. One of the things the concerns I had reading through the report was that access to some of the utilities in the basement of the dwelling were inaccessible and not granted permission to city staff. Can you speak to that?
We never blocked the city to come take a look at the situation. Nobody asked me for it.
During orientation, forgive me, I had spoken to the fact that we have to be invited inside. Tenants have care and control of the top of the unit, but property owner has care and control of the lower level. So for us, we were there for the inspection of heat, hydro, and water, the absence of those. So we didn't necessarily need to get into the basement to see, we just know that it's not there. And we issue that order out, the services aren't provided. So we didn't have access, nor did tenants have access to that basement. They don't have access either, so they couldn't allow us in and wouldn't have been able to give us that permission because it's not part of their rental unit proper.
Okay.
At this point, I would consider approving staff's recommendation to extend this to June 20th. Which-
If we're done with them,
Yeah.
asking questions?
Oh, you're right.
Yeah, I
Okay,
just,
well, then to follow, I'll just rephrase that then. Do you think you can get this fixed by June 20th?
So we have a court date at July 25. This court date is that either we're gonna let us in or let the tenant know to vacate the house. Either the tenants will be agreed to let us in to do the work. While we are working, he will be agreed with the dust and stuff like that, because as we know, electrical is behind the wall, plumbing is behind the wall. Everything is we have to remove. And also this tenant's he's not cooperative. Like last time we were there, like he called the OPP that apparently I was talking to his wife to take her outside, which is I wasn't even in the city, but he texted me this. So we really don't trust him that like we go there and we work around him. I'm not sure what he's gonna do. Like basically I'm scared of him. And in terms of the other question, sorry, what was it?
I want to know whether you will find other means to get in there and get these repairs done
Only
before
court.
June 20th. Call on the police again for an escort or whatever. But this order is to extend your timeline until June 20th. And are you going to make an effort to do that in spite of the fact that your hearing is not until July?
So if the tenants will block us, right, we cannot go in. How I'm gonna fix the stuff that I'm supposed to fix,
Thank you.
right?
No more questions.
thank you, Betty.
I can call, I can call the OPP right now in front of you if they're gonna come to keep the peace. They will not come because they said it's not our issue, it's a landlord tenants board's issue. I speak to them 3 times and that's what they responded to me. And that's why we filed our documents with the LTB in order either to allow us to go in or to let the guy basically to get rid of him. So I'm not sure what the court decision is gonna be at July 25 of this year.
Okay. Gregory, do you have any further questions?
No, I don't think so.
Betty Jean, any further questions? Any further pictures, comments, or questions for the committee?
Yeah, so basically, everybody deserve a water and electricity. That's a basic need. This guy is coming up with the idea that we did this so that way we can get rid of him. But by law, like, if the house is in emergency, we have to provide him a secondary place. For me, it's cheaper to stay in my house and not paying rent than for him to, for me to get him a hotel or Airbnb. But he refused to answer this request. It's like we literally booked him a place for him to go in until we do the work, because there is no water, there is no electricity. It's not a house, he's doing a camping. But he refused to answer all this. I would like to get September, maybe September 1st, until we get here from the court and see what's the decision and what's my option is to do at that point.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
So correspondence from committee on their decision. Is there any correspondence from the committee's decision on the matter? Are there any notices or motions from committee members?
But James gonna make a motion?
Yeah, Chair recognizes Betty Jean. Would you like to revisit the motion from earlier?
Clarifying with staff, is this the point in the agenda that it is dealt with? Thank you. Then I'll make a motion to I need the wording, to extend the time frame, to follow this staff report and extend the time frame to June 20th. Where's the wording of that?
On the first page of that staff report, you'll see the recommendation that the committee
There.
confirm property standards ordered to remedy 25026 with an amended compliance date of June 20th.
So moved.
And sorry, just to clarify, is that the date, does that align with the tribunal, that date?
No.
Basically, we have a court date, July 25. A court will make a decision at that date, but it's going to take about 3 to 4 days until they give us a endorsement. And then after the decision, we can figure out if the guy is forced to leave or he's going to force to us, let us in to do the work. So possibly, I really need until September 1st, just to see what's going on and what's my option.
Just, so if the recommendation is to extend it to July 20, but we're talking, I don't know, 5, 10 days later for a tribunal decision, I don't, does that make?
It's a month later.
Sorry, I figured
Oh, it's a
June
month
to
later.
July, yeah.
Oh, sorry.
And at this stage,
Yes,
it's customary to ask if there's a seconder for the motion.
yeah.
Then discuss it.
To Betty Jean, yeah, to Betty Jean's motion, do we have a second for it?
I'll second the motion.
Chair recognizes a second by Gregory. Discussion? So,
Yeah, I understand, and I'm sympathetic sometimes to the landlords. I've experienced, a lot of experience around it, but I'm also sympathetic to the other side as well. And the fact is, based on my experience and what the owner has described here today and what staff have presented to us, is I believe either you don't understand how to do it properly, or you're deliberately not getting it done. And your original purpose was to get him out. So that adds a suspicion that there is a purpose here in your, a method to what you're doing, because you have an ultimate goal at the end. And no, I see no reason to not support the motion. I do support the motion. I believe enough time's been given. And I don't believe anything will happen July 25th. I have a lot of experience with the tribunal too, and they don't get anything done fast. They're often many times you're in front of them before something is resolved. And that date really, I don't see as something we could count on to provide relief here. So I do support the motion as suggested by staff.
Would you like to speak to the motion, then I'll speak in closed debate?
yes, just one question though. So if this committee supports the compliance date for June 2025, and just from my understanding and for him as well, what happens after June 20?
The city would be in a position to have the work done at their expense, at his expense, and added to the tax roll. So the city could actually undertake the repairs that need to be done, and it would be added to tax roll.
And so that work would supersede any LTB laws and such, okay. All right, I'm going to turn it over to Chair recognizes.
Forgive me,
Betty
through you,
Jean.
Chair. Alternatively, we do have the option to take that to court for failure to comply with an order. So we would also have that option to take it to court. Generally speaking, that doesn't resolve a tenant's issues. So depending on the situation, we would have one of those two options. Most times we do repairs, but if there was a complicated matter, we could always take it to court or both, yes.
Okay,
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Sorry, wasn't it if you give
No,
me
no,
a...
his part's done. It's my understanding. You should be sitting down now. The committee is discussing this.
fair enough, agreed.
I have a comment.
No, unfortunately, I think we're closed on that. Thank you. Thank you. Chair recognizes Betty Jean, and I'll finish it up. Thank you.
I would like to see some effort made before June 20th to get access and start repairs. But if I'm to understand that if we approve this as June 20th, there's no further extension after that? It's off the table for further extensions.
Other than, like we outlined, the appellant has the option to appeal this decision of the committee to the Superior Court. So he could push that up the chain in the court system, and he could have an appeal done there.
That's a bit extreme, I think, for this. I'm really undecided. After having made the motion, and I thought from what I heard, that there is a way to get in with police protection, and start things and get it done. And now I'm waffling.
So take a moment, Betty Jean. I'll just make a comment that I believe we're here today making this decision based on the fact that the city has exhausted all options available to them, which is why we have this recommendation before us. I support the recommendation as well with Gregory. I am sympathetic to your situation. I think that there's been plenty of opportunity to.
I would like to know one opportunity that city comes with me to the front in case he's gonna let us in to do the work, or city just wanna get into the house and then, yeah, we did the work. Obviously, you get them to do the work, because you cannot say, city, you cannot get in. But in terms of me, myself, let's go to the front door, see if he's gonna let us in.
Again, I think the homeowner has been given ample opportunity to make contact with city officials to mediate the situation, and maybe miss those opportunities to do so. So
This is all the notice, 6-7 notice we give it to them that we trying to get in, no luck.
I do support the recommendation set before us. Thank you.
It's up to you to call for a vote.
So we'll call for a vote. All those supporting the recommendation say aye.
Aye.
Aye. The motion is passed for the recommendation. Are there any new or other business items to bring forward before the committee tonight? None to mention. Before we adjourn, I'd like to announce the next Property Standards Committee meeting. It will be held on. Yes, sir. So following the meeting, I think we will get you in touch with city staffers, and we can coordinate that. Maybe they can give you the best direction on that. That's not our role and responsibility for you.
Because I'm asking for 35 days, you were not able to give it to him, so
Yeah.
I want to know tomorrow, let's get in, see if he's gonna let you in.
Yeah, so the purpose, so the role and function of this committee is to look at the evidence and rule.
Evidence, like I told you in the very beginning of the project, until the end, this guy not let us in to do the work. He's gonna let you in because you are the city, but for me, let's go knock on the door, see if he's gonna let you in.
Okay,
We're not gonna do
Ca-
it.
You know what I mean?
Carrie, are you able to field that request?
Through you, Mr. Chair, much like Greg has indicated, a proper 24-hour notice, a written 24-hour notice posted that you're going to enter the property on such a date for such a reason, and then you would call the police for support, but they're only going to come and support if you've done the proper documentation to the property, to the tenant that you want to get in.
And only to keep the peace.
Exactly, yes. And so they're going to provide that service that the tenant cannot deny you in to do the repairs. If you give a proper notice under the Residential Tenancies Act, if you do the proper notice, if you give a proper 24-hour notice and then call for support for keeping the peace from the police, you will be able to go in and do that work.
We did give him the notice at the door, I did submit a picture here, but what is our access?
So you're aware of the process in order to give access, or to get into access into your unit. You're aware of the process?
24-hour
Okay.
notice, we can get in.
All right, so if I
Then
may, I
please
think
follow
that's a conversation with you and staff. There's no need for the committee to stay for this.
Agreed. I just,
That something is bothering you.
No, nothing's bothering me. I'm just saying, we're done. We've done our part.
We were talking, trying to find the solution, but you cut it off, like, take it outside.
No, I agree with you guys having a conversation. But we're sitting here watching you have a conversation with staff, and that's something that should happen. But that should happen after the committee rises.
Right? All I need is 35 days until the court decision so we can get it. You want to extend it right now? I need the person to come with me so we can go work.
Okay.
Not available. Police will go there, he's like, I'm just here if there's a crime involved. There's no crime, right?
Yeah, so listen, we appreciate your time. We've made our decision as a committee, appreciate your time, and if you've got some follow-up you want to do with staff members, by all means. Next committee meeting will be held Tuesday, August 12th at 5 p.m. at Quinte West Municipal Offices, council chambers here at Crestwell Drive. If there's no further business, may I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Motion to adjourn.
I'll second the motion.
All right, Chair recognizes Betty and seconded by Gregory. Motion is carried. All in favor? This meeting is adjourned. Thank you.